Bienvenidos a Raíces.
Welcome to Raíces, a storytelling podcast celebrating the journeys, resilience, and healing of our communities.
We're three friends and co-founders, storytellers, creatives, and community builders, coming together to honor where we came from and the roots that shaped us.
Each episode, we share real conversations with changemakers, healers, and everyday people who are breaking cycles, reclaiming identity, and creating impact in their own way. This is Raíces. Welcome to Raíces. Today we are so excited to be hosting Pablo Murillo, first-generation Mexican-American, co-founder of Bar Nuda, which is LA's first Mexican-inspired non-alcoholic beverage experience.
Cool.
Also excitingly, Bar Nuda just launched a Kickstarter campaign. Pablo gives back to community in his personal life, loves listening to music, and is a proud father of two children, 8 and 4, Zoe and Luciano. Pablo, we're so excited to have you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. What an introduction, huh?
That's dope. Awesome.
Thank you.
I wanted to start with your roots and your origin. So you're originally from Santa Catalina Islands. Did I even say that right?
You did.
Okay.
You did.
And you're Mexican.
I am.
How did you end up there? Like, how did your parents end up there?
Yeah, great root story. My parents actually were taken to Catalina Island when they immigrated here from Mexico.
Where in Mexico?
So my dad came from Mexico City.
Okay.
And my mom came from Colima, which is a small state on the coast. And they came and landed on Catalina because of the coyote that smuggled them across the border. And so they, started a life there. I was lucky enough to be born and raised there. I spent, all of my years up until I graduated high school. And then I moved around, and here I am.
And what was that childhood like? Like, what did your parents do?
Yeah, so like many Latino or predominantly Mexican families on Catalina Island, we're all kids of, parents who worked in either construction or hospitality or both, which is, what my parents did. My mom would take care of my friends' little siblings and stuff like that. And then my dad worked at restaurants and did construction as well.
What was school like?
Yeah, no, it's crazy. Catalina is mostly populated by like Latino Mexican families. I think the ratio is like 60-40.
Oh, wow.
And it was once Mexico, too, which is a fun fact. Yeah, growing up there was incredible, just being out on the ocean all day, getting to run around the whole island until the lights came on, and then it was time to come home.
Yeah.
When you heard your mom screaming your name and it was time to eat dinner. And, getting to camp out under the stars, play at the beach, jet skiing, parasailing. It was... When I think back and I close my eyes and I envision my childhood, it was so beautiful.
Yeah.
Because of that. And, I realized how lucky I was and fortunate to have had that childhood growing up.
Yeah. Do you have like aunts and uncles there too, or?
No, actually, I think my parents were the only ones. I think I had one aunt that lived there at one point, but everybody has moved off since.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of opportunity unless you're a business owner over there, which we weren't. So, we all moved off, me and my 5 brothers, and we're all scattered all throughout, the U.S. and Mexico now.
And are your parents still living on the island?
No, my mom lives not far from here in Glendora.
Okay.
She takes care of the elderly, which is something she's always loved to do.
Yeah.
And my father actually passed away, rest in peace.
Sorry.
He passed away in Mexico right after my daughter Zoe was born.
Okay.
Yeah. But... on that note, I did get a chance to I always promised him, I'm like, Dad, I'm gonna bring you back because he was deported. So, he spent most of his life over here and got deported over some ridiculous thing. And before he passed away, I spoke to him 2 weeks before, and we made amends over so much of our life, and just, it was the most beautiful conversation we ever had. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to do everything I can to bring you back to the U.S. I'm going to make you that promise. And then he passed away. And so I guess the silver lining for me is that I got to bring his ashes back and spread them all throughout Catalina, which was a full circle moment.
That's beautiful.
That's so beautiful.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
I'm really curious about this work that you're doing with Bar Nuda, and then you're also a GM at a restaurant. So you're doing a lot of building in addition to being a family man. And often I think it can be hard when we're building all this success to also reflect back on those challenging moments or the moments where we experienced a thought of how am I going to get through this or how do I get through this?
I mean, I have a lot of inner energy and inner motivation, and I think it just stems from the sacrifices that my parents made to get me here. And the more I reflect and look back, I think the more I'm fueled to move forward, if that makes sense. And, learning more about my culture and my roots, mis raíces, and my heritage, it only fuels me to prove to myself and to my family and those around me, my kiddos, that like anything is possible. Growing up, I had the privilege of seeing what it was like to own a yacht, what it was like to own a house on the hill on Catalina, but that wasn't me at that time, right? And so, I always, saw what the possibilities were, even as a kid who grew up on like Medicare and WIC and food stamps. And so, I was able to see both sides of the spectrum. And I think that knowing what life was like and knowing what life could be really motivates me to push forward and to really bring everyone along for the ride, and I think growing up on Catalina really taught me the value of community. And I now carry that with me. I carry that community with me everywhere I go. And you go back now and they're like, oh, I met Pablo. Everybody know who you're talking about. You don't even have to say my last name. Not only that, they'll tell you like 20,000 stories, 15,000 of them not so good. But, I think that, I reminding myself to be full of gratitude and to just be present, it makes it easier to not say like, oh my gosh, I got so much to do today. It's more so like, I'm able and I'm grateful to be able to do the things that I do.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. One of the things that stood out to me when learning about the history of Bar Nuda too, and what inspired you to start this up, was also this connection to your dad. Mm-hmm. And you were just sharing some more about him. Is that something that you'd be open to maybe sharing a little bit more about?
Yeah, of course. They say the biggest men cry the hardest. So I'm always about like, letting it all out. And shout out to my friend Steve Corona, who was just on a podcast. He's like, I cry in public. I cry in front of my friends because after that, I'm a better person for it. Yeah. But anyways, yeah, so my dad inspired Bar Nuda in more ways than I realize now that I'm on this journey. But initially it was because he passed away from alcohol-related issues. And I knew that there had to be a better way to celebrate life, to dig in and to enjoy the moments without the presence of booze. And not only that, being in the Latin community, BIPOC community, there's so much addiction and there's so many broken homes and so many issues because of that addiction, and we don't really have the resources to go out and heal ourselves and heal that childhood trauma. And so I feel like I'm getting to do that with Bar Nuda. It's not just about offering the best non-alcoholic beverages. It's like, how do I bring in wellness instructors and yoga teachers and do sound baths and poetry and all of these other things that, that our souls really seek out and really thrive on and use as a way to like go through a sense of like catharsis and like, taking that weight off our shoulders. Yeah, and everything we do with Bar Nuda is very culturally focused and very much a celebration of my personal culture, which is Mexican. And so when we started, we made it a point to get a lot of our ingredients directly from Mexico and to name the drinks with like native terms and indigenous terms. And so Bar Nuda is a celebration of life, very much focused on our Mexican culture.
Yeah. Which
to me is like, I've aligned myself with what I'm supposed to be doing in life. It's really, really cool.
Yeah. Really reshaping. I appreciate that you have talked so much in previous interviews and writing about the company too, of like reshaping these experiences and the fact that you can celebrate and have fun without alcohol present. So, yeah.
It's really important, especially now that I have kids. Like, I don't want them to see me sloppy, or I want to be the best version of myself for them at 5 a.m. when they wake my ass up, or when they go to bed at 10. Like, Actually, they never go to bed at 10. They go to bed at like 7:30. And being an entrepreneur, being a parent, being a coach, community member, I realized when I stopped drinking that if I'm going to do all this and I want to be like $1 million beyond entrepreneur, then I have to be $1 million man. And for me, that was letting go of my vices and really embracing like self-care and community love, you know?
Yeah. Thank you for sharing more. And
Yeah,
also
of
the
course.
connection to your
Yeah,
to your
ask
dad.
away.
I'd like to get into your specialty. And with Bar Nuda, can you tell us more, especially for our listeners, what exactly goes on? You've done events. Can you tell us about the events? But then also I want to follow up with you're launching a product soon.
Yeah.
And then I'd like to talk about that.
Yeah, all the hard-hitting, great questions, by the way. So good on you for doing the research. I can tell that you bring a lot of care and concern to what you're doing, so I appreciate that. Yeah, so Bar Nuda started as a way to host events where you can celebrate the night, celebrate a beautifully handcrafted cocktail without the presence of booze. And, you know, I feel like we're pioneers in this movement because everybody at that time was making these little drinks with like Sprite and maple syrup and non-alcoholic tequila. And my partner Morris and I reached out to our friend Bryant, who was the beverage director for us at that time. And we're like, there's got to be more to this non-alcoholic movement than what we're seeing. And so we really wanted to elevate that. And so with the wellness events and the live music events, we also wanted to set the standard for what it meant to create non-alcoholic cocktails. And I feel like we've done that. Like, you know, to this day, I still have yet to taste cocktails that are handcrafted and authentic and as delicious as ours. What's cool is the events led to, you know, people hiring us for their weddings or, you know, very special, memorable moments. And we get to be a part of those moments. I think the craziest moment to this day and a truly special thing for us was a couple weeks ago we got to make the drinks for the Latin Grammys in Vegas.
Congrats.
And so thank you. They hit us up because they had been to one of our events at De Buena Planta in Silver Lake, which is not there anymore. And so this was a while ago, and they're like, yeah, we want to hire you to make the drinks because we went to one of your events. We're gonna pair you up with Red Bull. So it was like a collaboration with Red Bull. We got to make their drinks, name the drinks, and be a presence at the biggest musical award show for our community, which is amazing. And it was cool. We weren't allowed to work the event because we're not in the union, but they sent us like videos and pictures, and it was cool. It was like this big ice sculpture, and our drinks were just flowing out of the sculpture. And the guests were just able to go up to the sculpture, put their glass up to it, and it filled you up with our drinks. And so that was really special. And I think that we're just getting started. And also what I mean by that is, to your point, we're about to launch our own product, our own Ceroveza, I guess I can say it now, we trademarked the term, Ceroveza. So Corona Pacifico, any of you want to buy that from us, let me know. Yeah, so we are going to be making our own beer here in Los Angeles with the local brewer, and it's going to be a Mexican lager in the spirit of like a Pacifico Modelo. And while other brands have tried to do this, I feel like no other brand is Mexican owned and really making it in the authentic style. So we're really excited. That's going to be the start, and then we'll go on to like cocktails and who knows, possibly some wine. But yeah, we're really excited for that. Morris and I have been working really hard to make that happen. And we feel like we've come a long way since not only the beginning of Bar Nuda, but our last brand that we started, which was Aguas Locas, which some of your listeners may be aware of, which was an agua fresca company that we started in the pandemic. So what we knew then and what we know now, like I can almost laugh at. But, you know, that's what got us here. And again, just super grateful to be on this journey.
That's amazing. I think as you're sharing the story, I think about family gatherings, and we all joke about how people drink until the kids fall asleep and they're still drinking. But I'm kind of questioning now, like, why do we have family gatherings with alcohol? Like, who wants to see us like a sloppy uncle, like a sloppy drunk uncle, right? And so we have that opportunity now at our age to raise our kids and raise our like or have our own family reunions where you're like, you're not doing that. You're doing like an actual activity, and you're building bonds with your family. It's like the psychology of it is interesting.
Yeah, I'm glad you touched on that. I mean, you know, part of the reason still for Bar Nuda and why it's so important to Morris and I is to be able to change that narrative, not only for our own families, but to be there for other families as well, and show them that there doesn't need to be a case of Modelo in the cooler for your son's first birthday.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, all the kids are like, where's our drinks? And like,
Yeah.
oh shoot, I think there's water in the house. I think that, like you said, the psychology and the way we show up matters.
Yeah.
And that's what the next generation is seeing. And so for my kids, for me to say that my kids have never seen me drunk is like, or inebriated, like, that's something that I'm super proud of.
Yeah.
You know,
We're
and not
proud of
every,
you. I'm
yeah,
proud of
I mean,
you.
no,
Yeah.
not everybody can say that. And so I would love to give that opportunity to others as well, and to inspire others on this journey. It's cool. I've gotten random people texting me or sending me a message on the Bar Nuda IG, just getting into that DM of like, hey, Pablo, just want to let you know I'm 30 days clean, or I'm 60 days sober. And it's like, you inspired me, or just to let you know, I haven't drank in a year and I just thought you should know. Like, I think that is super special.
Yeah.
And for them to be vulnerable and to share that with me is, I don't take that for granted one bit.
Yeah. That makes me emotional. I don't know. It's very fulfilling.
Super.
I think. Yeah.
It sounds like you're just driven by so much purpose, and the way that you talk about, like, it's just all in the details. I'm also really curious about, you have Bar Nuda, you're a GM at a restaurant, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you started Aguas Frescas, and then now you're doing beer. What keeps you going? What made you think about, like, all right, we're doing beer next? Like, what's your why?
I mean, my why is my children, first and foremost. I've always said I want to start companies so that I can show them that anything's possible, but also to create generational wealth for them. But I think that I'm just motivated by outdoing my own self. You know, I don't really compare myself to anybody. I don't, you know, I went through that where I let kind of ego and jealousy really, in a sense, get the best of me. And like, I'd find myself comparing myself to all these amazing creatives in Los Angeles and be like, oh my gosh, they got this. Why didn't, and it's so like, once I let go of that and let go of my ego, I'm just like driven by my spirit, you know? And it took a lot of work and it took a lot of self-reflection, looking within myself. But I think that, like you said, it's purpose-driven. And like, I think once I found that alignment within myself, it was like, it's just kind of how I move. Like, being a creator and wanting more is something that drives me, but also realizing that I have everything, you know?
Earlier we talked about, like, you had a Kickstarter.
Yeah.
What is that?
A Kickstarter. So a Kickstarter is a crowdfunding campaign where you initially ask all the people that you know for money, but also, you know, people you don't know. So Kickstarter is a platform where you put your product or your idea onto this platform, and then you go out and raise money for it. And so we're trying to raise money to fulfill the entire first order so that we can release the product, market the product, and get it into stores.
Yeah. So I envision it kind of like a social media thing where you can see how many people are participating and things like that.
100%.
So have you been on Kickstarter for a while?
No, we just launched this, I want to say, like 10 days ago.
Okay.
So it's super fresh, but it's hard. Even one, asking and sending that personal message to like your homies or
Yeah.
your uncle. It's like, oh, what's Pablo asking for now? You know, but it's like, if you don't ask, you'll never know.
Yeah.
And for me, it's like, create and build and they will come.
Yeah.
And so I'm already learning a lot. Even if I want to say we'll reach our goal, but even if I don't, what lessons will I pull away from it, and how will I do things different next time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, using it as a way to learn more about the business and what I do and don't know.
Yeah. And is it just you and your partner working these ideas together?
Yeah, it really is. Morris Ellis is his name. He's probably off designing for somebody else or he's also doing 50 things at once, any typical LA person. But I was telling them before the podcast that they remind me a lot of Morris and I of like 1 + 1 = 3. A team is hardly ever a really, really good team if everybody has the same thoughts or plays the same position. You want people with different varying perspectives to not only bring new ideas, but to challenge those ideas and to make them better. And I feel like ever since we started Aguas Locas and now Bar Nuda, I mean, that's all we do. And we never say like, if we have a crazy idea, which we're full of them, it's never like, but how are we going to do that? It's more so, and how do we do this? And how do we achieve? We're always like building off one another. And he's just insanely talented and genuinely one of the nicest people I've ever met. And so to be building with him, 6 years later, and maybe I can't even say we've gotten into an argument because we understand and respect each other's roles and differences so much that it just works. And even my wife's like, are you gonna go see Morris again? Like, you guys don't even work.
Wait, how did you guys meet?
So I was his manager at a restaurant that we worked on before the pandemic. And then when the pandemic hit, I hit him up to start our first company.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I was telling them, we were in the garage, masks on, 6 feet apart. I was like, try my aguas. And he's like, this is cool. Let's build a company together. And from that moment, we knew we wanted to give back, so we're like, we should go hand out Jamaica to all the protesters. Because if you remember, if you go back in time, it was the time when there was all the protests were going on for George Floyd. And, it was a very crazy time when you were kind of just unsure of what was about to happen. What we knew is we wanted to create a company that, helped our communities. And here I am 6 years later, still on that same mission.
Yeah.
What about 5 years from now? Like, where do you see your product?
Yeah, 5 years from now, I see our product at, major retail grocery stores. I see them at venues where, like SoFi, stuff like that.
Maybe the global expansion.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, at least from the East Coast to the West Coast and Mexico as well. My goal has always been to see one of my brands on like a soccer jersey, whether it be the LAFC or Angel City or something like that.
Like FIFA or something like that?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
To be a sponsor, to sponsor skaters and surfers and golfers. And I want it to be, our brands to be like a lifestyle brand, almost like Red Bull has done.
Yeah.
You never really see them marketing the brand. You see them marketing an experience.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the way that we have built our brands as well.
That makes a lot of sense. So one of the things that we think is important too in telling these stories through Raíces is we want people to be able to listen, and if there's a part of them that connects to that inspiration that the guest has, learn from what that person has gone through. So I'm curious if there's something that you could share with somebody who might be listening who's got a lot of ideas but doesn't know where to start. Based on all of your experiences now starting a couple companies, what would you say to somebody who's listening is like, where do I even begin?
That's a great one. What comes to mind is just to go. Whatever that first step is, whether it's a company or a club or a team, it's just go. Just, start the Instagram page, make the website, buy the cameras, buy the lights. Once you start that forward motion, it's really hard for you to stop. And I think that you can probably attest to this. It's like as soon as you thought of the name Raíces, you're probably like, oh my God, now this should be the slogan and these should be the colors and we should make merch. And I think that one idea will just kind of lend itself for the beginning of the next idea and the next thing that you set in motion. So just go whatever it is that you want to start. And most importantly, don't listen to anybody that says that you can't do it. I think that we're nowadays too worried about what others think. We post on social media, hoping for the likes, hoping for the clicks. But really, if you just go and do it for yourself, you'll realize that success is what you think success is. And, if you sell one agua fresca on the street or 10 or 100, if you are doing it and if you're happy with what you're doing, that is success.
Yeah.
And nobody else can measure it by yourself.
Yeah. The forward motion really stands out. And then what stands out to me about the story that you've shared so far too is the people you surround yourself with.
Mm-hmm.
That seems to have played a really critical role too in your building.
100%. I've, for better or for worse, through these very heavy political times, I have found out who my true circle is, and I'm okay with it. They say to move forward, sometimes you just have to let go, and I'm okay with that, and that's totally true. And when you surround yourself with people who also are pushing and creating and putting themselves out in the community, then you're bound to like also feed off that energy. They say you're the 5 closest people that you hang out with. And I only hang out with one person, so I don't have to worry about that. But
I was just gonna ask you, what does your community look like? Are you hanging out with other entrepreneurs?
yeah, I
Are you
mean,
too busy running your own company?
you know, honestly, I hang out with my kids the most, and my wife, who in herself is incredibly talented, and I attest all of my success to her, because there was times I couldn't pay the rent, or times where I couldn't buy groceries, but there she was to support me, to see the vision,
Yeah.
even though she didn't really feel supported on my end. And so like, it's totally all about who you surround yourself with. And yeah, I hang out with, you know, I'm wearing a Kids of Immigrants shirt, so they're also friends of mine, and they do incredible things for the community. And so I try to align myself with people who I know are doing really good things for themselves and for others. And I think that becomes inspiring. Even just being here in this room with you is inspiring. You know,
I'm inspired.
And, you know,
Yeah.
so
I'm so inspired.
That's funny that you brought up Kids of Immigrants. I found them on Instagram. I think it was during COVID. And then I had this yearning of like, I want to do something like that. And then this is kind of how Raíces started, because then Gabby talked to us. I don't even remember exactly
I think
what.
we all had that thought, and just wanting to be tied to it, back to it somehow.
yeah.
And you were talking about this before we started recording, how there's this cultural movement, momentum, and I really liked what you were sharing about that from your perspective of how you see it as just the beginning.
Yeah, that's just such a good point of it's not just like our moment, it's the moment is here and we're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
So many of us, I know for me growing up on Catalina, I didn't really see the Latinos and the Mexicans and those that I lived around really owning the businesses or having the yachts. And now it's like a Bad Bunny, he's the biggest artist in the world about to dominate the Super Bowl. But like, and everybody wants a piece of that now, right? And I think that no matter what brand, if you're a Latin-owned brand, an Apple, or whatever the case may be, you're looking to that culture now, because you know that that's where the dollars are. We're the fastest growing GDP in the US. Our money has value and our money talks. I think that we're done standing on the sidelines and we're ready to be the stars of the show. And like I said before the podcast, it's like we are standing here now, but behind us are our ancestors and our culture and everybody pushing us along. And I think that you're all doing all of your ancestors a great service by looking to your roots, to your raíces, to be connected. And I think we all feel the same way when we celebrate our culture, how aligned it feels, right? How como se siente, like it's more than just like going to work or starting a podcast. It's like, wow, but I get to tie in my culture to this.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think about like embracing our culture, but also having it be sustainable. And the only way I can kind of describe it is like our parents. Our parents enjoyed music. They enjoyed dancing. They enjoyed the food. And I don't think they ever lost that. They never tried to be something that they weren't. They always embraced it. And like at home, they made us speak Spanish, and we ate Mexican food. And I think when I reflect on myself, I'm like, cool, I can do that. I'm capable of that. I'm not going to change who I am.
Yeah. It's because it is you, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you probably feel the same way. When you think of home, your youth, it's like the pozole and the tacos and the rice and the beans, you know? There was a moment in time when I wanted to run away from all of that because I wanted to assimilate to what I thought was like American. And I think that having done that, it made me realize that that's not me. And what is me is wanting to eat a homemade tortilla and wanting to listen to Juan Gabriel and wanting to use Fabuloso while I'm pumping Selena, you know? And it's like all of those things are what make us who we are. And so like I think that we're all learning to embrace that. it's really beautiful to see like everywhere I go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, I thought of something. Can we share, all of us, what was something in your household that just made sense? Like, for me, it was we used jabonzote
Oh yeah.
for like to clean your body.
You know, my barber literally just told me to do that. He's like, hey, you got really dry skin on your head. You should use saute.
So this probably like terrible for you.
Oh my God,
Exactly, because as soon as you said fabuloso, it made me
Yeah.
think of jabonzote. And
Oh,
I was
yeah.
like, wait, how do I word this? But does anyone else do that? Like, jabonzote for your body. It's in the
Oh.
shower. Like
I'm
my
sure
mom's
we have
house.
so many of those wild things that it's just normal to me. I'm
Yeah.
trying to think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure like my Weddle friends, when they came over to my house, like, what the heck is this? For me, it was the one big TV and then the other smaller TV on top of it. The bottom one never worked. So we would watch the top one with the antennas. And to me, that just made sense. It was like a dresser that your TV was on. My friends were like, why don't you ever turn on the bottom TV? I'm like, it doesn't work.
What about you, Gabby, and then Melissa?
I'm trying to think.
Yeah.
I don't know. I probably have a ton.
Does it count? I think of like Vicks for everything.
Oh, yeah.
No matter what kind of illness or anything, you just Vicks
That
all
counts.
over the
Oh,
body.
yeah.
Vexy spray. Tómate un spray.
And what was it? With the tiger balm?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
If you got a bruise, they made you put the tiger balm on your bruise so that the bruise would get sucked up or something.
oh yeah, it stings a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that.
For
that
me,
was-
I remember also like, I'd be like 7 or 8, and my mom would be like, ten $10, vete a la tienda. Like, go to the grocery store. And like nowadays, I wouldn't even let my daughter go outside by herself.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, times were different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I look back at that now, and I'm like, that's what reminds me of my childhood.
Yeah.
You know?
I think I could think of candy, like when your parents go to Mexico and they bring back like
Oh, yeah.
2 years worth of candy.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
I remember my mom went and she brought back honey from Mexico, but it was in a giant like paint can, like those big huge ones. I don't think it was an actual previous paint can, but I was like, you don't need 10 years worth of honey. I was like, Mom, I need some honey for my yogurt. And she's like, yeah, go to the garage. And it's like in the garage, there's just this giant tub of honey. I'm like, this is wild. This could feed 50 families.
Or my mom stores all of her pots and pans in the oven, and I do that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's
It just
normal.
makes
It's just like a
sense.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just makes sense. That should be like the final part of all of your interviews. Is it just
What's
makes
something
sense.
that's normal.
Yeah.
You have a famous dicho, like something that's very a popular saying in your family.
Vete a la. I'm just kidding. Man, not that I can think of off the top of my head. But my mom says some pretty wild
That's
stuff.
funny that you said
so-
vete a la verga. I won't say which parent. I almost said it, but you can get. But they'd be
Oh,
like,
yeah.
dígale que vaya a chingar a su madre. But they say it with so much flavor. And the other day, I was so mad and I was like, I just feel like saying that. And something came up and I was just like, cool, I can apply this. And I just said it and it felt so good. Well, you'll have to come back to us with a dicho.
I will.
Yeah.
And with some product. I'll
Yes,
come back when the
yeah.
product's
Oh, yeah.
ready.
Yeah, that would be perfect.
Wait, how far along are you on the product? Like, do you guys have the beer yet? Or
No,
what's the
so it'll probably be spring of 2026, hopefully.
process? Okay, that's coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah, fast.
I know.
Wow.
Oof, now that I say it, I'm like, all right, never mind winter.
Delay it.
Around the corner. Well, Pablo, it was a gift to have you. I actually want to tell you a quick story because I don't think you realize this, but I moved to LA almost 3 years ago now, and Bar Nuda was the background of so many of my first experiences.
Oh, wow.
So when I first got here, I didn't have very many friends. So I was always going out on what I called my solo dates. And that was a lot of wellness events. I also was trying to not drink alcohol as much. And you were at the very first wellness event I went to on my own. It was with the Wellness Project.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to the Wellness Project.
Mm-hmm.
You were also at Latinas Who Meditate and Latinx with Plants or Latinx Plants.
Yep.
And so I just remember going on all these solo dates, and Bar Nuda was always there, and the drinks are delicious. But I just want you to know that your company was so formative in my first experiences in LA, and also formative in my experience of also removing alcohol from being such a prevalent part of my own life. So just thank you for everything that you're doing, and having you here is just such an honor because
Yeah.
because of that memory.
Wow. You can't see it through through the microphone, but I'm getting goosebumps and I want to tear up because that to me just reminds me when I hear things like that is that I'm on my path, you know, and it's so hard in this life so easy, I should say, on this life to just feel like you're not going anywhere. And I think that with every movement that I make, I try to make it intentional, and hearing stuff like that really means a lot. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming. The way that you talk and all the things that you're saying really just hit heavy for me, and you're an inspiration to like how I move as well. You're one of those people
Oh, thank you.
that I'm gonna
Yeah.
look back on and take notes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Get my number. Let's chat. Let's grab some coffee. Thank you. Appreciate that
Awesome.
so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. That's a wrap, y'all. Yeah.
Cool.
All right. Raíces.
Nice.